What's up guys, and welcome back to Olympus. So today's video is going to be on how to set goals for yourself. This is following on from the videos we've done previous weeks on things like how to energize you, find things that energize you, and how to pick a hobby and stuff like that, because those are all really important. But having goals is something really important. So having something you're working towards to make all the actions you do have meaning and a purpose is very important. It also links to what we said last week. If you can set yourself a really good goal, finding stuff that energizes you will be really easy, because normally your goal is related to stuff that energizes you, and then the actions you do towards the goal probably will end up energizing you as well, which is really good. So let's get into it. The first thing I'd say is that ideally you would have a few different goals that you can work towards, and even more ideally they'd be covering a few different things. So they could cover things such as your physique, building yourself a nice physique. There could be a job-based goal, there could be a goal in a hobby, or basically wherever you feel like you need a goal. I'll give a couple of different examples a little bit later on those different things. But as I've just said, they can become in any field you want. As I've said, it could be in a job, it could be the gym. So in the job, it could be a specific position you want to reach, or a specific company you maybe want to work for. The goal of the gym could be in a specific lift, could be an amount you want to lift, or could be a physique goal in terms of what you want your physique to look like. In a hobby, it could be anything in that hobby. It could be a certain milestone, could be an accolade. So if your hobby is running, it could be completing a marathon. If your goal is, I don't know, cross stitch, could be a certain cross stitching pattern you want to make. You know, if you're I'm trying to think of another. If your goal's gardening, could be a certain way to make your garden look, or a certain plant you want to own. If your goal's cooking, could be a meal you want to cook. Anything. It could be anything. A goal. It doesn't. It can be a tiny goal, or it can be a gigantic goal. But that brings us on to how to actually go about setting them. There's a couple of steps here, but the first step would be one of two things. So it would be the first one. It'd be close your eyes and visualize the type of life you want, and really try and picture it in good detail, and then capture this in some way. You can write it down just by bullet points. You could write it down in like a really descriptive way, so you're writing like a book description about what you want to do. If you're more of a visual person, you could try and draw the life if you can, but try and get it as detailed as possible. And in this visualization goal tactic visualization project, maybe could take you a couple of different visualization sessions to get it fully in depth. But you want to consider everything here, from the career you want, to the general environment you want to be in, to the physique you want, to the partner you want, to the family life you want. Everything. You want as much detail as possible, because that'll make setting your goals easier. And if you try that and that doesn't work, that's fine, absolutely fine. I personally sometimes do struggle to come up with really in-depth pictures. If you're really struggling though to come up with a proper picture, then you could consider when you're 80 years old, if you imagine, or you're telling your grandkids a story maybe about your life, what would you be proud to tell them about it, and what would make you feel best telling them? And again, capture that down in as much detail as you can. You can do one of those two things, up to you. The first one's probably a bit easier, but the second one is another option if you don't like the first one. But now that is how you come up with your vision for where you want to take your life. You could also make a vision board, I guess, could also work. So now you've got the vision there though, you can break this vision down into different sections, because there'll likely be different parts to it, I imagine, because you'll have the vision for what your overall good life is, but then that'll be made up of different parts. So I imagine you'll have something work related, whether it be a certain position, whatever you want to reach. It could be a certain marker at the gym, a certain thing in a hobby, a certain part of a relationship. Doesn't particularly matter what it is, just I imagine you've got different parts to your vision. Okay, so and that thing, the different parts of those are your goals. So for example, let's take the career part. Let's say you work currently as an engineer. You've just got an engineering degree, got yourself a little thing. So let's say you then want to be a chief engineer at a specific company. So let's say you've just got a degree in motorsports engineering and you've started working as a mechanic somewhere. I assume those are related. I think those are related. And then you could say, I want to end up being a chief engineer at a Formula 1 team, and that is your goal, and you can break that down into different sections, and that gives you a plan. Okay, but that is for a different video that we might do next week. But yeah, so basically to go through the different parts of to do the visualization visualization session, maybe. Basically visualize what you want your life to be, and that'll be give you a vision for you to work towards. Okay, and then if you basically capture that vision and break it down, that'll give you the different goals you want for your life. And yeah, that's how you set goals. At least that's the way I've done it, and it worked pretty well for me, so it might be useful for you as well. But that is all for this video, so hopefully you've enjoyed it and enjoyed being out in nature. Got a little bit of blue sky, which is very nice. Well, that is all for now, so I'd like to thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed it, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click subscribe if you are new around here. But that is all for now, so I'd like to thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Welcome to Olympus.